Keir Starmer went into this week confident that his big plan was finally taking shape. But by Friday, reality struck hard. What was supposed to be a show of strength turned into a rude awakening. The kind of blow that no spin or sound bite can disguise. Let's break it down. But first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more. At the end of what can only be described as a humiliating and frustrating week for Sir Keir Starmer's government, the numbers tell the real story. Despite Labour's repeated promises to stop the boats and restore order at the border, just 2 small boat migrants have been returned to France. 2, that's the grand total. And yet, at the very same time, GB News is reporting that at least 800 others are currently attempting the crossing into Britain. For 9 days, windy weather in the Channel had kept the boats grounded. But as soon as the seas calmed, the people smugglers pounced. Before sunrise on Friday morning, gangs in the Cala and Dunkirk regions launched wave after wave of flimsy inflatables. Small boats emerged not just from the beaches, but from the inland river systems, where criminal networks have developed what they brazenly call taxi routes to funnel migrants into UK waters. By 10 a.m., the first border force vessel, the Typhoon, had already arrived at Dover Harbour. On board were 166 migrants intercepted in just 2 boats. Hundreds more were being picked up throughout the day. And this is just the beginning. Border Force has privately warned that calm weather in the days ahead will create a fresh surge with crossings likely to hit record levels. Now, one cannot overstate how serious this situation is. Thousands of migrants are gathered in makeshift camps along the French coast, waiting for their moment. And when that moment comes, the scale is overwhelming. In Dunkirk alone, a group of 40 young men were seen carrying an inflatable boat through the streets before dumping it into a canal, launching right under the noses of the police. Locals watched in disbelief as officers stood by, powerless or perhaps unwilling to intervene. In another instance, migrants formed a human chain to drag their boat out of the mud, cheered on by traffickers and ignored by authorities. Tourists were left furious. One British visitor was quoted as saying, "I'm never coming back to France. Where are the police? They're doing nothing." And that frustration is shared by millions back home in Britain who are watching this slow-motion disaster unfold day after day. Against this backdrop, former Tory MP James Sunderland unleashed a furious tirade against Keir Starmer and Labour's so-called one-in, one-out migrant policy. According to Sunderland, this is nothing but smoke and mirrors. He rightly pointed out that Labour opposed every serious attempt to control our borders while in opposition. And now, suddenly, we're expected to believe they found the political will to stop the boats. Nonsense. In fact, Sunderland's remarks cut right to the heart of the issue. It's taken Donald Trump during his state visit to openly say what British politicians refuse to admit, that military intervention may be necessary to restore order in the Channel. Yet Starmer dismissed the idea, with his cabinet ministers insisting border force alone is enough. Sunderland was having none of it. His message was clear. If the UK is serious, then whatever it takes must be the approach. That includes deploying the Royal Marines as a rapid interception force, using advanced technology to disable boats, and if necessary, reconsidering Britain's ties to international treaties that tie our hands. And Sunderland's warnings aren't hyperbole. This is no longer just an immigration issue. It's not even just about security at the border. He called it what it is, a military crisis. State-sponsored migration organized by traffickers with links stretching across Europe and beyond poses a direct threat to Britain's domestic security. This is why the public is so angry. Ordinary Britons look at the numbers. Hundreds arriving in a single day, thousands waiting to launch. And they ask, how is it that our so-called leaders still pretend this is under control? How is it that Keir Starmer can stand at a podium, speak of fairness and compassion, and yet preside over a border policy that is both toothless and dishonest? Let's be absolutely blunt here. These are not, for the most part, genuine asylum seekers fleeing war zones. Many are coming from countries that are not at war. Albania, Eritrea, even stable parts of Africa and the Middle East. There are no mass human rights atrocities in these nations that justify such movements. This is about economics. It's about exploiting Britain's generosity and weak laws. And the British people know it. So yes, James Sunderland is right when he says politicians must say it as it is. If we cannot legally tow these boats back, then the law itself must change. If the European Convention on Human Rights ties Britain's hands, then leaving it must be on the table. The time for hollow promises and empty sound bites has long passed. Friday should serve as a rude awakening for Keir Starmer. His plan is already in tatters. While his government trumpets the return of 2 migrants to France, 800 more are arriving. That's not a solution. It's a surrender. Britain stands at a crossroads. Either our leaders finally act decisively using every tool available, including the military if necessary, or we accept an endless conveyor belt of illegal crossings that will only grow bigger with every passing season. The choice is clear and the public will not forgive failure. In other news, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has said US President Donald Trump knows he will be the next Prime Minister. The president's team noticed parallels between Britain's poll-topping party and the current White House administration. Mr. Farage said according to a poll carried out by The Telegraph, Reform UK would win a majority in the House of Commons if a general election were held today with 331 seats. At the same time, Keir Starmer's favourability plunged to record lows this week as a fresh YouGov poll found just 21% of participants held a favourable opinion of the Prime Minister. Speaking to the Harry Cole Saves the West channel on YouTube, Mr. Farage said we should view ourselves as being incredibly lucky that we have an American president with such a deep emotional soft spot for the United Kingdom. When he was asked about electoral prospects in Britain, he said, "Sure, Keir can beat my friend Nigel as long as he's tough on borders, tough on law and order, and drills lots of oil and gas in the North Sea." After Mr. Cole asked the Reform UK leader whether Mr. Trump sees him as Britain's next Prime Minister, he said he knows that all the American administration are acutely aware of it. They think they see some similarities in what they've done and what we've done. And you know what? We speak the same language. Mr. Farage has enjoyed an almost decade-long friendship with the president after the pair met in the wake of the historic 2016 Brexit referendum as Mr. Trump was campaigning for the presidency when the Reform UK leader celebrated his 60th birthday last year. Mr. Trump said, "You look great, Nigel. I tell you, I was just with you and you look great. You have truly been a pivotal voice all over the world in the United Kingdom and beyond, and everyone's lucky to have you." Despite the duo not meeting during Mr. Trump's second state visit, Mr. Farage spoke with him in Washington, D.C. just weeks ago. The meeting in the Oval Office came after the Reform UK leader gave evidence to a congressional committee surrounding freedom of speech where he told American lawmakers that Britain had become North Korea. Mr. Farage told Talk TV that despite being snubbed an invitation to Wednesday's state banquet, he did speak to Marco Rubio and I did last night speak to Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. He added, "These guys have got big plans. We're going to hear about big investments in Britain for Microsoft. We're going to hear about nuclear deals. All of which is good. But it does make me wonder why are we ourselves not pushing our own nuclear industry?" During a press conference at Chequers on the final day of the state visit, Mr. Trump hailed the bond between the US and Britain as being like no other anywhere in the world. He said, "The United States and the United Kingdom have done more good on this planet than any two nations in human history. This is thanks in large part to the traditions of British liberty which grew up on these isles, these beautiful, magnificent isles, and were carried by our ancestors to the New World. We're forever joined, and we are forever friends, and we will always be friends." The relationship between Nigel Farage and Donald Trump has long been one of mutual admiration and the Reform UK leader appears keen to use that connection to bolster his own political momentum at home. With polls swinging firmly in his favour and Keir Starmer's popularity plummeting, Farage's confidence in his path to number 10 is only growing. Whether Trump's backing translates into tangible gains in Britain remains to be seen, but the message from both sides of the Atlantic is clear. Farage now sees himself not just as a contender, but as the man destined to shape Britain's future. What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comments section below. If you've not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you. Take care. Goodbye.